This makes for an extraordinary development in the Tommy Robinson case, who's in court today challenging his being kept in segregation or isolation. Many people, including myself early on at least, felt that this might have been through his own choice. At least he might have had the choice at the beginning to be kept in isolation for his own safety. But of course, as I've explained in previous videos, the prison can choose to do that for his safety. And that's what appears to be happening here. And that's what they are challenging in court. The extraordinary event, however, is yet to come. But first of all, if you do want some of my thoughts and updating on this, please do subscribe to the channel. I am leaning on Dan Wootton's reporting here, who is outside court today, reporting on this. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll be really grateful for that. So I will link this video here rather than play it to you. I think that's fairer to Dan Wootton having been there to do the reporting. But what they say is that it's quite extraordinary. Tommy Robinson was not speaking directly in court, but trying to get his point across by speaking to his lawyer by telephone. And he says by a sign that he held up, according to Dan Wootton here, he held up a pink sign via the video feed to say, "They cut my phone off." So that obviously suggests that the prison service cut off his phone mid-conversation with his lawyers, which is obviously not right. The judge having told him to speak to his lawyers and give instructions through his lawyers, which is generally how these things work. You speak through counsel if you've got counsel, unless the judge speaks to you directly, in which case you can address the judge, but otherwise it's through counsel. But obviously by not being physically in court and appearing by video link and, again, speaking through counsel, it was given that opportunity to speak to lawyers, but then, according to that sign and according to Dan Wootton, they cut his phone off. And so the judge, according to this reporting, has then ordered the prison service to reconnect the phone call between Tommy Robinson and his lawyers so that they can continue and finish that conversation so that he can give them full instructions. Now, I will read to you, this is from the Tommy Robinson account under the guise of admin posts, so obviously not, I hope it's obvious, not directly from Tommy Robinson himself, but they say that there is a letter from the prison here and says as follows. It says that they're writing regarding a number of issues raised in the circumstances of Stephen Yaxley Lennon being held at HMP Woodhill. Dealing with the first primary issue stated that his continued segregation under Prison Rule 45, that being that where it appears desirable, this is a quote, where it appears desirable for the maintenance of good order or discipline or in his own interests, that a prisoner should not associate with other prisoners either generally or for particular purposes, the government may arrange for the prisoner's removal from association. In other words, they can be kept in isolation. They say this has been deemed necessary according to this letter on Tommy Robinson's post. You understand, the account says this has been deemed necessary for the good order and discipline of the establishment and the well-being of himself and others. It says, I can confirm that in making this decision, full consideration has been given to alternative locations to manage the prevailing risks. So this answers the question, really, whether anyone had the question still, whether he was being kept in isolation. The letter goes on to say that he has access to exercise and showers, etc., etc. But of course, that's what it appears that they are challenging in court today. All of this literally just a couple of hours ago. Dan Wootton then goes on to say that he's now written up another note and held it up to the camera to show the judge, my calls are live monitored. They were listening and cut it off. All of this then resulting literally an hour ago, Dan Wootton saying that Judge Chamberlain, Mr. Justice Chamberlain, has ordered the government lawyers to speak to the prison governor after he said that his call to his KC had been cut off despite the instructions from the court. And finally, literally a few minutes ago, a post by the admin team on Tommy Robinson's account to say a huge thank you to all the friends who were at court today covering everything. Thanks, etc. for the unbelievable speed and accuracy. Dan Wootton will be covering it later on Outspoken. They say if it were not for people like this, you wouldn't have the details, you wouldn't get the facts. Mainstream media would be incredibly selective in their reporting, and that's if they report on any of it at all. We also want to thank everyone who went to court today in support of Tommy. You are really the best of British. Apologies to anyone who may have missed out. Know that you are appreciated and that we thank you too. And so again, I implore you, please subscribe to my channel and people like me, like Dan Wootton, like anybody else who's reporting on these things, because I suspect they're right. If it's not for accounts like us that are delivering this to you, reporting on this for you, you probably wouldn't find out about it. Or if you did, you might get reporting that is somewhat misleading, etc. I don't want to be too disparaging of the general media, but you might not get the full picture unless it's somebody who's actually there, who actually heard it happen. And these are public cases, after all. Unless the court determines that these are to be heard in private, they are public hearings. Anybody can go to them. There's a press gallery that people can sit in and report on these things. And so there you have it. Quite remarkable. Somebody actually in a prison communications room holding up a sign to the judge because he said that he had his phone cut off. That is quite remarkable, and you probably wouldn't hear about it but for individual journalists and even channels like mine reporting on this to you. So please do subscribe. I hope you found that useful and interesting. And of course, I'll keep my eye on it and further legal commentary. But for now, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.